and marriage, love and marriage.
Hello, my name is Robbie. On here I'm Templar Knight. Every person who believes in God but does not attend a church has a story why. But it's said that whenever two or more gather in God's name, that He is there. So this is church. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Tonight we are potentially going to finish out our series, Bliss After the Bells. What to do after you say I do. It's been a series talking about making God a part of your marriage, how to have that faith-driven marriage, and what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong, according to the Bible. It's been a rough one for me, I will admit. I was a bit out of my comfort zone. There are people who spend years and years studying this in school, and I've been trying to throw this together on a weekly basis, but God's had some good things to say this week, or this month, through this series, and I'm just thankful He's let me be a part of it. So when I was trying to think of what I wanted the final lesson to be about, I decided the most important part in a marriage is faith. But there are two things that you need faith in to have your marriage work. You have to have faith in God, and you have to have faith in your spouse. Now, when I mean faith in them, you have to believe in them and what they can do. Show support. Be behind them. Let them know. Now, I'll admit, there were some times that I struggled with this, because my wife sets the bar high on things that she is capable of. And there were times I was worried she was biting off more than she could chew. Recently, she took on some art projects that I was nervous about, because we're kind of artistic people. And I thought, what if this is above what we're capable of? What if this is too much? What if it's too hard? But I wanted to support her, and so I didn't oppose her. I did what I could to help. But my wife likes to be very independent and do things on her own. So if I ask her for help and she says no, I get out of the way. I'm available if you need me, but I don't want to step on your toes. And the things that she has done in this past year has blown my mind, that she can just learn how to do things and teach herself how to do things that we've never done before, that I've never seen done. I mean, just recently, she made Christmas presents. She printed out names and etched, did a laser thing in acid to make these glasses for us and our friends. I didn't know that was something you could do at home, but she did it. And I've come to believe that she can do anything she puts her mind to. She's an impressive woman, and I have faith in her. And more importantly than just having faith in what they can do and who they are and the type of person they are, you have to be faithful. I have seen unfaithfulness destroy marriages. Just crush them and rip them apart. That's a pain I could not begin to imagine, and I'm glad that I will never have to. But it's not just about that physical act of being unfaithful. There's a mental unfaithfulness that sneaks its way in first. And it wiggles its way in through small little conversations with people. And it slowly becomes more and more thing. I've heard of people having mental affairs. And it's scary. Because you just sit there and think, oh, well, I'm just talking to this person. There's nothing actually happening. But mentally, you are using that relationship with another person to fulfill a need that you should be having fulfilled by your spouse. And it's scary. Full disclosure, about 8 years ago, I was contacted by an old girlfriend on Facebook who was struggling with her husband. She's married, I'm married. And she wanted to talk to me about him. And she wanted to badmouth her husband. And I wanted to be a friend because I wanted to help. I wanted to care. I wanted to do the right thing. But I couldn't. Because for one, I don't like people badmouthing their spouses. I'm against that. If you want to talk to me about your spouse in a constructive way, fine. I'll be there for that. But if you just want to throw insults and be rude, I'm not about that. That's not constructive conversations. But because I had had a relationship with this girl back in high school, I realized that I could not talk to her because what if talking to her stirred up emotions? What if it brought back memories? It was a temptation I was not willing to take part in. And I had to tell her, it's like, look, I'm sorry. I like talking to you again, making comments on your pictures of your kids and stuff. I enjoy being friends with you on Facebook. But this conversation right here, these conversations can't happen between us. I'm sorry. I'm married. I cannot talk to you like that. And you can't talk to me like that. So we just need to go back to public posts saying, hey, that's a cute picture of your kid, or I had to mentally be faithful to my wife. I could not even allow that temptation in. I knew better. Because mental cheating to me is, I guess I view it as being just as destructive as physical cheating. That unfaithfulness is so destructive. And one leads so easily to the other, so it's best to avoid it. And the easiest way, if you're ever having a conversation with someone and you're not sure, have your spouse come be a part of it. Have them come and read what's being said and get their input. Because if you're not comfortable having that conversation with your spouse or part of it, or reading it, or watching over your shoulder, maybe you shouldn't be having it. Being faithful matters. You promised God you would love and cherish this person. Do it. The other thing you need to have is faith in God. Because again, I'm going to hit this so many times. Your marriage is not just the two of you. It's the three of you. It is yourself, your spouse, and the Lord. And that matters. Make sure you're keeping God in your relationship. Put your faith in Him. Trust Him to guide you. The greatest part about it, you will have someone to referee if you guys have an argument. If you're struggling with something, God, how can I get this man to take out the trash? He just won't do it when it needs to be done. Why can't he empty the trash can? You have someone to talk to. God's up there, comes knocking on my Robbie, what are you doing? Take out the trash can, bud. Sorry, I'm playing games right now. It happens. But my wife knows she has someone else she can call upon when I'm being a nugget. And I know that I have someone else I can call upon when she's being a nugget. It doesn't happen as often as it does with me, but sometimes she can be a nugget. I'm just saying. Make sure that you keep God as an active part in your marriage and trust Him to guide you. A lot of times it'll almost become like God speaks to you through this feeling. I think they call it intuition. God will use that gut feeling to try and lead you the right way. Put your marriage in His hands. That's a part of my daily prayers. I say, Lord, I'm not as good a husband as I should be. Help me grow. That's part of my daily prayer. Along with all the things I'm praying for, all you guys and the things you've told me about, that's the prayer I ask for me. That I can continue to grow. To be a better man, to be a better person, to be a better husband. And we've been doing this for 10 months now. Prayer works. By being faithful to each other and being faithful to God and following the guidelines that we've already talked about in these past month, you'll get through this. Your marriage will grow and it will last. And if you're worried about it, hit me up. I am more than willing to take part in helping you. If you don't feel that God's talking to you, I'll do my best to let Him talk through me. I'll be there to help. Because divorce is not an option. I'm sorry, but it's not. And before I get all the but what if this, what if that, all of the scenarios, all of the what ifs wouldn't happen if you were focusing on keeping God the center of your marriage. Because all of the big what ifs that people will justify saying divorce is okay, that's not like a starter step. That's like, well, this happened, then this, then this, then this, then this. Finally, this happened and I need out. Keep God in your marriage and catch these problems when they're still down here. Do I think you should stay with someone who cheats? Do I think you should stay with someone who's physically abusive? Someone who's emotionally abusive? Who's mentally abusive? No. I don't think you should have to put up with that. But I think it's fixable. If you didn't catch it early on and stop it before it became a problem, it's never too late. And that's hard to say because the thought of someone being physically abused thought of someone being emotionally neglected. Where was God when all that started? Why didn't we get help sooner? At the first signs I hope you can catch these problems before they become a real problem. I hope none of you ever get to that stage where it's that bad, to where you feel you have to escape. I hope that what we've been talking about this past month will help you see the red flags and fix bad behavior before it becomes a serious problem. Unfortunately, a lot of these problems are not things that I know well. So I'm going to relate it to, again, something I do know. And that's dealing with my anger. Because I know how it builds up. Anger works very simply. You get upset about something. You start an argument about it. But the other person is not understanding it the way you want them to. They don't understand how passionate you are about this. So you start getting louder. You start saying more harsh words to convince them, to show them how much whatever it is means to you. And when that stops working, you start having physical expressions. Yelling no longer gets the response I need. I'll hit something. I'll throw something. I will break something so that I can show them how much this means to me. I will put my emotion into physical action as a demonstration. Well, then that doesn't work. And now there's holes in the sheetrock. So what's the next step? Violence. Showing you how mad I was didn't work. So I will hurt you so that you can understand how much this means to me. You will feel my pain. There are stages of progression to that horrible behavior. So what do I do to control my temper? At the first signs, I acknowledge it and I get it under control. At the first signs of me wanting to get loud, wanting to express more passion in my voice, to say hurtful things, to show how much I care, I shut it down. Because I know what comes next and what comes after that. I have an anger problem, but I've had it under control for decades because I know how to deal with it. So getting back to our topic, the physical abuse, the sexual cheating, the mental neglect. Don't just say, it's okay, it's only at this stage right now. Stop it before it becomes a major problem. This took a twist I was not expecting. Okay, God, I'm going. So the point I was trying to make before we got sidetracked. Divorce is not an option. It says in the Bible, Mark 10, verse 6, "But at the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two of them will become one flesh, so that they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate." That's marriage. You stand before God, you make your promises, and then you seal that physically. You connect that bond, make it permanent, so that no one can separate you. It's hard to say that divorce is not an option, because I think we all know someone who's been divorced. We all know someone who is on their second husband, second wife. We all know people that were better off once they got divorced. But the problem is, it never should have gotten there. It never should have gotten to that point. So we're going to recap. What do we do to have a faith-driven marriage that will last? So we go back to lesson 1. Your marriage requires love. All 3 types. It requires that mental connection, that requirement to be near each other, that sense of, my life is better because you're in it. It requires that physical love. It requires that physical action to forge and solidify that connection. Ideally something that only the two of you know, which is why it's supposed to come after you're married, so that you can... Why do I have such a hard time talking about that? It requires that heat, that passion, that sensation that you can only get from sex. Your marriage requires it. To connect you emotionally, mentally, physically, to become one flesh. Thirdly, your marriage requires agape. That church word I threw out. Agape is that highest form of love, which is only from God. It is divine, it is unconditional, it is endless. And you too need that in your marriage. And you can only get it from God. Man, God is like, He's my pusher. He is my love dealer. He's got this feeling that is better than anything I have ever known. And He doesn't even charge me for it. He gives me that love for free. So what do? I keep him around as much as possible. I keep him in my marriage as much as I can, because this guy's, he's handing out the good stuff and he's not even charging for it. I wish you all knew. That feeling. When you feel God's presence and His love. I need more of that. You need more. We all need that, man. We need that. We need more. But before I get too focused on God's love, and it's going to take me to that place. So I need to move forward. To week 2. Your marriage requires honor and respect. The keynotes from that lesson. Don't play mental games with each other. Be open about your expectations. That was the week where, guys, we talked about how it is not our job to fix everything. And ladies, if we ask you if you need our help, please give us an honest answer. We don't read minds. Train us to be the husbands you need. Reward us for good behavior. Make it known when we're doing something that you're not okay with. Like not taking out the trash when it needs to be taken out. Bad Robbie. Never belittle each other. Honor and cherish what you have. Your spouse is a gift that God gave you, and only you. Cherish that. And even when they're not around, honor them with your actions and your words. Act as if they are. Do not disgrace your spouse when they're not around. Don't speak negatively of them. As a construction worker, it is difficult to be around guys that like to belittle their wives. But I've made it clear that that's not appropriate, especially around me, and it's something I will never take part in. Don't be that guy. Don't be that woman. Honor and respect your spouse. Now we come to last week, communication. We talked about the 4 horsemen that will end your relationship. Criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. We talked about how when you're talking to each other, do not talk to attack them. Communicate to find a solution. Because eventually, you're going to have a disagreement. But if you're focused on breaking down the other side and not focused on finding the answer to the problem, all you're going to do is hurt them. And God gave you that person to protect them, to love and cherish them. Don't hurt them with your words. Use your words to build them up. And if you have if you want to know more about communication, we have a lot of great resources posted in the Discord. Use them. If you want to know more, let me know. I will gladly do the legwork and find information for you. The final part of our recap was what we just talked about tonight. The importance of faith and faithfulness in your marriage. Believing in your spouse, encouraging them, trusting them, and being faithful to them, emotionally, mentally, physically. Do not stray from your spouse. God designed marriage so that your spouse should be able to fulfill all of those needs. Mentally, you should be getting all the support you need. You should be giving all the support they need. Emotionally, you and your spouse should have a connection that no one else can compare with or even understand. And physically, do not stray. Do not put yourself in a situation where that kind of temptation is even an option. I knew a great man once who thought he was stronger than temptation. And he found himself in a situation he never should have been in. And he also found out that he was not as strong as he hoped he was. So how do we prevent this? We stop the steps before it becomes a problem. We don't wait till we hit DEFCON 5. We stop right when we first warning signs. And the most important thing, if you take anything away from this past month, I want you to understand the importance of having God be a part of your marriage. Having Him be the impartial third party. When you're with your spouse, invite God to be a part of what you're doing. When you're away from your spouse, invite God to be a part of what you're doing so that He can protect your marriage. God loves you so much, and He created this person just for you. He took you through all of the stepping stones, every single interaction, to get you to where you are, so that you could stand before Him and promise, not only to each other, but to Him. Don't ever forget that. Don't turn your back on Him. When the times are great, celebrate with God. When times are difficult, work through it with the Lord. And when the times are bad and you can't do it anymore, give it to God, because He can. Don't ever forget how much He loves you. Because in this marriage, you, your spouse, and God is the one who is pursuing you. God is the one who wants to be with you, not the other way around. You don't have to pursue him. He is right there and waiting, wanting to be with you. At your best and at your worst, his love is endless. His love is unconditional. There is nothing you can do that will ever get him to stop loving you. So take that love and put that in your marriage. No matter how bad things get between the two of you, let God hold you together. Let him get you through the hard times. Let God's grace be the glue that keeps you together, so that in the good, in the trouble, and in the bad, you will still be able to find joy. That you will still be able to have your bliss after the bells.
Love and marriage, love and marriage.